It was a cold evening, and the cafe buzzed with warmth and chatter. A young woman named Emily stood by the counter, her eyes scanning the packed tables. Every seat seemed taken. Her hands clutched a small cup of coffee, the only thing she could afford after another long, disappointing day of job hunting. She sighed, feeling invisible in a room full of people who didn't notice her tired face or her trembling hands. Just when she was about to leave, a soft voice stopped her. "Can I sit here?" she asked a man sitting alone near the window. The man, dressed in a slightly worn suit, looked up from his notebook. His name was Daniel, a quiet soul who came to the cafe every evening to write. He saw something in Emily's eyes, a mix of exhaustion and quiet strength. He smiled gently and said, "Only if you eat too." Emily blinked in surprise, glancing at the untouched sandwich on his plate. "I'm fine," she murmured. But Daniel shook his head. "You look like you haven't eaten properly in days. Please, I insist." There was no pity in his tone, only kindness. Reluctantly, Emily sat down. Her stomach betrayed her with a quiet growl, and she blushed. Daniel pretended not to notice, slicing the sandwich in half and sliding it toward her. "You'd be doing me a favor," he said lightly. "I never finish it anyway." She hesitated, then took a small bite, and for the first time in a long while, she smiled. The bread was warm, the cheese melted perfectly, and for a brief moment, the world didn't feel so harsh. Daniel watched her quietly, as if her smile had lit up the dull cafe. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then, Emily asked what he was writing. Daniel chuckled softly. "Stories," he said, "about people who forget that kindness still exists." Her eyes softened. "Does anyone remember those kinds of stories anymore?" she asked quietly. "Only the people who need to," Daniel replied. His words lingered between them like warmth on a winter night. She looked out the window, where the city lights reflected off the wet pavement, and whispered, "I needed that reminder today." As they talked, Daniel learned that Emily had moved to the city 2 months ago in search of work. She had lost her parents young, put herself through college, and now struggled to find a job. "Every door I knock on stays closed," she said softly. Daniel listened, not to reply, but to understand. When she finished, he said, "Sometimes the door that opens isn't the one you expect. Maybe today's door was just this table." Emily looked at him, realizing this stranger was giving her more hope than anyone had in weeks. When Daniel spoke, his words carried empathy born from experience. He confessed he too had once been lost, a failed writer, rejected countless times. "I used to think the world had no space for people like me," he said. "But then, someone offered me a seat, just like I'm offering you one today." Emily felt tears well up, not from sadness but from the strange beauty of human connection. In that simple cafe, among strangers, two weary souls were beginning to heal each other's loneliness. The waiter came by to refill their cups. Daniel ordered another sandwich. "That's really not necessary," Emily protested. "It is," he said firmly. "You've already earned it, by sharing your story." She laughed through her tears. "You're strange," she said. "Maybe," he smiled, "but kindness is a rare kind of strange." As they ate, their conversation flowed naturally, from favorite books to small childhood dreams, to how both of them had stopped believing in miracles. Yet somehow, that night felt like one. Hours passed unnoticed. The cafe began to empty, but neither wanted to leave. Emily realized how long it had been since she felt seen. Not for her struggles, but for her spirit. Daniel's kindness didn't feel like charity, it felt like friendship. As she got up to leave, she said softly, "Thank you, for the seat, and for reminding me that I matter." Daniel smiled and handed her a small card. It wasn't his number, but a quote that read, "Be the reason someone believes in good people again." The next morning, Emily woke with a strange determination. She looked at the quote again and decided to apply for one more job, at a publishing company she had almost given up on. When she walked in, her heart nearly stopped. Sitting behind the desk was Daniel. He looked up, stunned, then smiled. "Emily," he said, almost laughing. She was equally shocked. "You work here." "I own this small branch," he replied. "But I never expected the woman who shared my sandwich to walk in for an interview." The interview turned into a conversation full of laughter and warmth. Daniel didn't treat her like a charity case. He asked about her ideas, her creativity, her dreams. At the end, he said, "The job's yours if you want it." Emily's voice trembled. Why? Because, he said, you already showed me the kind of heart this company needs. She tried to hold back tears but couldn't. It wasn't just about the job, it was about being seen, believed in, and given a second chance. Weeks passed. Emily flourished in her new role, pouring her heart into every project. Daniel often watched from his office, proud but humble. One evening, she brought him a new manuscript. What's this? He asked. Your story, she said softly. I called it The Seat by the Window. Daniel opened the first page, and his eyes widened. It told the story of two strangers who found hope in each other, the night she asked, "Can I sit here?" And he replied, "Only if you eat too." The book became more than a story, it became a symbol. People across the company shared it, inspired by its quiet reminder that kindness could change lives. Daniel insisted Emily publish it under her name. But it's your story too, she said. No, he replied, it's ours, but the world needs your voice. Emily realized then that true kindness wasn't about giving things, it was about giving faith back to others. Her eyes glistened with gratitude she couldn't put into words. Months later, the book was printed and placed in bookstores. On the dedication page, Emily had written, "For Daniel, who taught me that a simple seat can open 1,000 doors." Daniel read it silently and smiled. Their friendship had turned into something timeless, a quiet bond rooted not in romance but in shared humanity. Sometimes, they still met at that same cafe, by the same window, to remind each other that the smallest gestures could still light up the darkest days. One rainy afternoon, Emily noticed a young man standing by the cafe door, looking lost and hungry. She got up, approached him, and smiled. "Can I sit here?" he asked shyly. Emily remembered Daniel's words and replied, "Only if you eat too." The circle of kindness continued, passed from one soul to another, like a gentle flame that refused to die. Somewhere across the cafe, Daniel watched from his usual corner, his heart full. He didn't need to interfere, he had already started something beautiful. And so, the story of one seat, one sandwich, and one act of compassion rippled through countless lives. Emily's life changed, not through luck or wealth, but through a stranger's heart that chose empathy over indifference. In a world that often rushes past pain, that simple question, "Can I sit here?" became a reminder that every connection starts with a little courage and a little kindness. Because sometimes, the smallest invitation can change someone's entire story. Subscribe to this channel and like it, thank you.